Hey, HR friends, welcome back. So, we're in day two of the 2-3 emotional 6.5 day sequence, and here's the entire sequence. All right, so the previous 24 hours, we talked about that already, and that's when we had the polarity flip. So, when this larger 6.5 day frequency flips, it's just like the tides in the ocean. So, yesterday, it was if we got to the low tide, the water stopped, changed direction, and now it's starting to pile back in the forward direction. Okay, so in the last 24 hours, if your digestion was off or your energy was off or you were feeling a little off, imagine this. Your body has to acclimate to this new direction. So your body got used to it going in the reverse direction for 6.5 days. And then in a split moment, it stops, it turns around and it starts to pick up and go the other direction. So it's kind of like jet lag. So I hope that people are kind of getting over that jet lag experience today. And you can see all this agitation that we had yesterday that I warned you about in the first person perspective. Well, that's calmed right out here. Okay. And when we look forward, we can see there's going to be a little spike here at the end of this sequence, the beginning of the next day sequence, but then it kind of stays kind of flat here. And the same thing here. There's not a ton going on in the next couple days. So this is day 2, 3, 4, but look what's coming at the end of the week, 5, 6, and 6.5. We want to really make sure we're keeping our stress load as small as possible because at the end of the week, we're going to need as much bandwidth as possible and as much commitment to staying calm and patient as possible because at the end of the week, we're all going to get tested at a much higher level when it comes to agitation. In fact, I want you to look at the combined level here. So the combined level kind of plays between 2 and 4 until we get to 5, 6, and 7. And then we're jumping up into 4, 5, 6, 7, even up into an 8 point here. So this end part of the week is definitely going to be a struggle. Let's make sure we're doing everything we can so that doesn't happen. All right, let's keep moving here. So I'm going to discuss this a little bit different than I have in the past when it comes to objective. And the easiest way to understand this is going to be to understand what relationship needs to focus about. Before we had the mathematical proof of how space time reality is created, I suppose a lot of people had opinions on what we should do and how we should spend our time. But now that we know how this works and we understand the overall dimension of this math, there's only one thing that we should really be working for. That is, if we want to have good health and less likelihood of disease. If we want to decrease aging and decrease our amount of suffering that we do, the only thing we can do then is have relationships that are focused on moving forward in a balanced direction. So it really doesn't matter what relationship we're talking about here. And if you're in a relationship with anybody in the world, the common focus between you and that person that you're in relationship with should be balance. If that relationship that you're in with them is not focused on balancing these 8 perspectives to make this world mutually beneficial for all of us, then you're out of balance and you're going to be out of balance with these frequencies. Now, as rude awakening as it is to say that, because we've all been living in all of these different perspectives and thinking that this is what we should be doing or this is what we shouldn't be doing. In truth, once you understand the design of this, there really is only one solution. All relationship going forward should focus on balance. If it's not, then understand the consequence of that. And that's what these charts are helping us understand and show you. We're trying to help you see what's causing the dysfunction in your body, the pain in your body. So as soon as you are aware of the choices that you're making and how those choices are creating these unpleasant experiences, we're trying to help you refine those choices. All right. So I hope that's a little easier to understand when you're talking about relationships. So now what I want you to do in your mind is think about all the people that you have in your life where you talk about and say, hey, you know what? I want to stay friends with you. And as we stay friends, let's continue to discuss how we can change our routines and get more in alignment and make this world a better place, not just for you and me, but all the other people that we're in relationship with. That's what needs to start happening here. In order to make that transformation, we really got to define what that transformation looks like. Okay. All right. That's enough about the objective here at this level. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down and look at the zoomed in 24-hour period that we're going to talk about today, day two here. Okay. And that's what this graph is. Here's our 24-hour guide. And what this does is it just really kind of brings things into focus so we know exactly when these agitations are going to happen. Let's start with the agitations here too. So polarity moments today in first person, pretty much flat. In the first 12 hours, it's pretty flat here in third person, but in the start of the second 12 hours, you can see for about a 5 hour period, agitations are going to be up. Very important in this second 12-hour period that you don't buy into this. Now, if everybody's invested in trying to balance these perspectives, you don't have anything to argue or fight about. People right now that are arguing and fighting in the third person perspective are arguing and fighting about things that aren't mutually beneficial for all of us. So the second you realize that that's not the objective, then you can stop investing in that strategy because arguing with people is just making it worse. Okay, so the second 12-hour period is where you're really going to want to invest your time in staying calm and cooperative today, learning about other people, and trying to have maybe today's the day where you try to talk to people about, hey, maybe we need to think a little bit bigger here in our strategy going forward. This is kind of like investment. Like if you're trying to create a successful future, you want to invest in a strategy that's going to pay the best for you. And the best strategy for all of us is the one where we all work together. Okay. So now that we've got through the electromagnetics here, let's talk about the alignments today. So the alignments today are really going to focus in on this right upper quadrant. On the space side, it's going to be testing father relationships, and on the time side, it's going to be testing world relationship. So if you're having balance issues, for example, if with all of the mature males or father type roles that you're in relationship with, if you're having conversations and you're pushing and pushing each other in a direction to balance these four perspectives, then you're going to be in alignment today. If you have father relationships or relationships with mature males and it's not about a balanced perspective, maybe it's more about investing in individual strategy or more about investing in national strategy, but it's not balanced with these four, then there's going to be some refinement there. And you'll know if you need refinement in your relationship because if the relationship isn't balanced mutually and optimal for all of us, well, then expect to feel something in this upper right quadrant today. So both of these alignments on the space side, this one right here, that's the PE, and this one right here, the EP is right here. Both of these are going to affect the upper right quadrant and specifically have to do if you have a balanced relationship with mature males that want to balance all perspectives together. That's how simple that is. Now, this one, the 2.25-hour alignment that happens on the time side, that's this one right here. That's going to test on world perspective. So you can start to see here, because we're being tested on world perspective, if, for example, your relationships in your life right now don't really have a world focus at all, every single time this one comes, whether you feel it or not, your body's being damaged. But this is likely going to cause tension. This is likely going to cause tightening. This could cause headaches, visual changes, all kinds of stuff. So when these alignments happen, it's important to understand what they're trying to teach you, and they're trying to help you understand that if you're not feeling well, it just means you got a little refinement to do. All right, so that's the alignments today. Really expect upper right quadrant stuff today. And I want to point something out here because now we're going to switch over and we're going to talk about the daily. Now, if you look at what's being tested here on the right upper quadrant, look at how many frequencies are in there today. And during the 12-hour segment right here, when all of this agitation is up in the second 12-hour segment, so is testing in the upper right quadrant. And in addition to that, so not only is there going to be a larger test load on right upper quadrant today, but then we've got multiple alignments that are aligning with this time. You see how I'm doing this? I'm coming right down here, and it's going to start halfway through this sequence and push through here. If I was in practice still, this is where people are feeling it today. They're going to have tension up here. They're going to have all kinds of symptoms. It could be anywhere in this vicinity. And those symptoms would be trying to tell those people, hey, you got to think about the bigger picture. You got to integrate the four perspectives from the social society perspectives together, and you have to integrate and teach those and integrate them with all the members of your family and all the members of your community. Okay, now let's keep moving here. So now that we kind of got into this, we can already see that the upper extremity on the right side, that's our big focus today. But we also have some issues that we could possibly be dealing with down here on the left lower quadrant as well. You can see that this one's got four frequencies, five. It's kind of jumping up and down between the 4 and 5 into 3. And then in the second 12 hours, it dips off a little bit. Right lower extremity, pretty consistent. Now, let's add these macros in because the position of the macros is also going to make a difference here, okay? So let's just count them up from side to side. Let's look at the right side first. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we got 7 on the right side and we've got 1, 2, 3 on the left side. All right, so just be common sense here. the right side of the body is going to get tested heavier today. And not only is the right side going to get tested heavier, but specifically the right upper quadrant. So today is all about the right upper quadrant. If you notice right upper quadrant today, well, this is why I went into the detailed analysis about what future relationship needs to focus on and why it's so important to have a world and national strategy integrated with your family and individual strategy. You've got to have that in your daily routine. Otherwise, when these cyclical cycles come back and test us and we're not doing that stuff, then unfortunately we're taking damage and we're speeding up the aging process. So, that being said, this is our big concern here. Right upper quadrant. Now, in these left lower and right lower quadrants, this is worth mentioning. So we've got the capital M's, those are the strongest frequencies. We've got an M and an E, those are very strong as well. This is a 7.5 day frequency. This is a 6.5 day frequency. This is a 12 day or 12-hour frequency. So there is some stuff going on in the low back today, okay? And it wouldn't be uncommon, it would be possible, but again, this is probably the most likely. All right, that's enough for today. That one got long today too. Lots of information. Looking forward to our next video. Talk to you then.